And we're trying to own that word. We're trying to own like what it is to be a Guiri.
What were you doing before Luma?
Using some shitty ass.
You've been here for what, 8 years already, right?
Per month, I was getting like 8 million views a month, which is pretty crazy.
Nice.
And we're saying, look, well, everyone's felt like a Guiri at some point, and that's kind of what our events are all about. Oh shit! Okay. So the point where I thought that the events could be the business, the videos did really well. It was the biggest period of growth.
All right, Chris or Nat? I'm just kidding. I think we made the right Guiri famous.
This is the bane of my life at the moment. This is the bane of my life.
All right, so we're back with another episode of Plus Ultra, and I'm really excited for this one because this is Tom Charlie Hopcroft. How you doing, brother?
Thank you for having me.
Dude, of course. So Tom, he's captured lightning in a bottle with this community here in Madrid called Guiris de Mierda. And I've been going to their events a lot, and I've come across his content. Maybe you've seen it as well. If you're interested in Spain, and Madrid in particular, you've definitely seen his content. But Tom has created this amazing community, and we're going to talk about it and also the business side as well. So what's up, brother?
Well, good to be here. Good to thank you for that lovely introduction. It's always funny when you hear people talk about yourself, and like when I've been introduced on different podcasts and stuff like that, and it's an interesting out of body experience. But thank you for having me.
Of course, brother. And it's really interesting too because the word Guiris, if we get into that, some people might not understand what Guiris is.
Okay.
And
because I describe myself as a professional Guiri.
A professional Guiri. The person we're talking to is a professional Guiri. And Guiri, it's very interesting because, like you said, you ask 10 Spanish people what Guiri means, you'll get 10 different definitions. But what would you describe a Guiri to be?
Exactly. So I've learned that really there's no one true definition, which I think is kind of why our brand works so well. Because we're kind of taking it and kind of making our own twist on it. You know what I mean? We're trying to own that word. We're trying to own like what it is to be a Guiri. I've done videos before kind of explaining like what is a Guiri, and I'll get comments, like hundreds of comments, like, no, it's not this, it's not that. Like you have some people that will beat around the bush and they'll say, anyone not from Spain is a Guiri. But really, no one's calling Italians Guiris. No one's calling Latinos Guiris. You know what I mean? That's just, that doesn't happen. Yeah. You might call, I would say, the people that you call a Guiri is someone from Northern Europe, maybe United States, probably the United States as well. And that's pretty much it. But it's more than just like where you're from. It's kind of the look and vibe, you know what I mean? So if you're a kind of like, not an uneducated tourist, but if you're kind of like a goofy tourist, that's basically what a Guiri is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Socks and sandals, getting burnt, not putting enough sunscreen on. That's kind of the sentiment. That's how Spain would describe a Guiri. I think that's the general sentiment. But how we kind of describe it is like we're taking that idea and flipping it on its head and being like, look, actually, in today's world, everyone's moved around. Everyone's lived in other countries. Like all three of us in this room right now have all lived in other countries or are from different countries, or our parents in different countries that are from different countries. And so we're just trying to own that, and we're saying, look, well, everyone's felt like a Guiri at some point, and that's kind of what our events are all about. It's kind of like embracing the fact that, like we're not all like homogenous. We all come from different places, but there's a lot of stuff we have in common as well, and we can have a good time while getting to know each other and not taking ourselves too seriously in the process.
That's huge too, yeah.
Big, yeah.
And what's also interesting too is when I go to these events, I'm honestly like pleasantly surprised by how many local Spanish people are at these events.
Yeah.
And what's kind of cool is that some of these Spanish people, they go abroad for like a few years and then they come back and they do feel like a little bit of a Guiri themselves in their own country, right? So it is like a feeling. It's a very fluid identity that people can identify with.
100%. So we have a lot of people exactly like that, like Spanish people who have lived somewhere else. Maybe we've had people in the community who have lived in New York for 10 years and they come back and they say, I don't fully feel 100% Spanish anymore either. Or I do feel Spanish, but I really enjoyed the international community. And in Spain, if you move back, especially if you move back to your hometown and all your friends are from Madrid, if you go back into that friend group, you're probably just going to be in that same group of like Spanish people that you've known your whole life. And if for people that have lived outside and have experienced international groups, you kind of get a little bit, well, I guess your mind changes a little bit and you end up enjoying the variety. You know what I mean?
100%.
So yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And our next goal is we want the locals who have never even left Madrid. You know what I mean? That's kind of like, we want to grow it even more. So at the moment we're kind of capturing those Spanish people who have lived away and who have felt like Guiris. But now one of our goals is like to is to really bring in the locals that like the castizo, the real Spanish locals that like would never dream of going to an event that's called Guiri de Mierda, and kind of fold them into the community as well.
So that follows in perfectly to what I was going to say, because I noticed that you are very involved and you invest a lot into like Spain.
Mm-hmm.
You've been here for what, 8 years already, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you do certain events, like you went to the Camino de Santiago 3 times.
Yeah.
You take people with you. You just did a Save the Barrio in Chamberí. Like you invest in like small businesses here.
Yeah.
And you've learned the language. I think we made the right Guiri famous, right? Like I honestly mean that. Like you invest so much into the culture, which is really nice to see.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, we've definitely got a long way to go.
Right.
100%. But I mean, for me, look, the events are great, and going to a party and getting pissed is great. Like there's not many people that don't like doing that, because it's just it's an easy access way of going and kind of letting loose, you know.
Yeah.
But coming from a fulfillment point of view, like it doesn't fulfill me. It wouldn't fulfill me very much if I only organised parties where there was no underlying like message, or like, if we weren't actually trying to do something. So although a lot of our events, yes, are rooftop parties or speed dating, that kind of stuff. What we try and do, at least in some of our events, like you said, in the Save the Barrio, and we're going to be doing more of those as well, is to try and like highlight local businesses, or I try and work with bars where I know the business owners, and I know that, for example, I don't know, not necessarily that they're struggling, because that's not always the case either. Sometimes we do it in really like successful bars, like in Gran Via and stuff, like rooftops in Gran Via. But it's more the fact it's like people who I actually like, you know what I mean? It's people that own businesses a lot of the time, or are like hustling to do their own thing. And I actually like them. And I guess half of the point is selfishly for me to kind of build this amazing community and like work with people that I like only. And then, yeah, the other half is like, yeah, we know if I can also use this community that's like thousands of people at this point and funnel them into something that's like also a positive cause. And especially with something like Save the Barrio, it's good because a lot of people move over to Spain. A lot of like internationals like you and I move over to Spain because who knows, maybe it's the romanticized ideas or whatever, or maybe it's the kind of idea that we have of Spain. We love the Spanish lifestyle, whatever that means. So I think that's also something that means different things to different people. But the reality is, the more people that come over here and like that aren't Spanish, that it kind of, there's an argument to be made that it kind of makes Spain less Spanish inherently. You know what I mean? It dilutes the Spanishness of Spain. So if we can contribute a little bit and kind of like to those businesses with Save the Barrio, for example, if we can contribute to those castizo bars, those really Spanish bars, and kind of show the international community, like, look, you don't have to just go and get your avocado on toast. You can go and get like tortilla de batata, you know what I mean? And you can go get some dobles or some cañas or whatever in a shitty little bar. Not always shitty, but you know what I mean? Like that's what's beautiful about these bars, is that they're like these like no frills, shitty little bars, but that's like the beauty of them.
That's the right mindset, man. Because a lot of people, we have a recency bias. We think that this generation is the one that's going to completely dilute Europe and we're going to lose that. But we've had open borders like for a long time. People have been always coming in and out, but maybe it's an accelerated pace for sure. But having people like you, for instance, and I know you're too humble to say it, but like you went to Valencia to help out. Like you actually are like emotionally like plugged into the place, which is great.
We went to Valencia to help out.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But and you do talk a lot about the like the Spanish lifestyle. A lot of people, and you say it's more than just a siesta and fiesta. It's like way more than that, and you show that in your content and just getting to know you, which is great.
Yeah.
But our fellow Golden Guiri member and Guiris de Mierda community member, Sylvester, he actually went into depth with you, talking about your background, you coming from Birmingham, and all that. And I highly suggest people go check out the Sylvester podcast with you. It was really good. I'm actually going to link it in the show notes, but that goes more into like your personal life, which is amazing.
Yeah.
For this podcast, I kind of want to gear it more towards like the business side. So also like a little bit of branding and like content. But when you started your brand, did you ever expect it to expand the way it did in the direction it did? Because I thought it was a clothing brand first, right? Or how'd it go?
So I'm going to be super cliche and quote Steve Jobs. You know, he's got a quote. I forget how it goes exactly, but it's like, you don't see the dots going forward. You only can connect the dots looking back. You know, so that's really what happened with Guiris. 100%. I started making content about 2-ish years ago, maybe like 2 years, 2 months ago. So not like a super long time ago. And about 6 months into making content, I'd already started to find the niche of like Guiri in Spain. You know what I mean? And so at the time, I was not blowing up, but I was having a lot of viral videos. Viral at the time, maybe like over 100,000, 200,000 views, because TikTok was just going crazy and was pushing my content at the time. And so I'd get recognized in the street because my content was so Madrid specific. Yeah. I'd get recognized fairly regularly in the street, and then people would be like, "Oh, you're the guy from TikTok." I'd speak to them, and I'd have all these nice interactions. And so I thought one day, okay, it would be a good content idea to kind of do like a meetup and get all these people in one place, introduce them to each other. And really, I was thinking it would be good content. I can make a video. I bought together 25 Guiris. Who knows? You know, that was going to be the idea. Running parallel to this, I was also thinking, okay, I know that if you want to get paid on social media, you've got to be selling a product, because you can't rely on like Meta or like Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok to pay you directly. They pay some creators and others they don't, and it completely relies on how many views you've got. It's not a robust business as such if you're just like living and dying off every single video. So from the very start of my content creation, I was selling when I started off, I was actually doing design, UX design based content. So within 3 months of starting to make content, I was already selling PDFs, like do's and don'ts of portfolios. So I had a digital product. It wasn't making loads of money, but it's definitely how I made my first few €100. You know what I mean? And then, so I've always had this mindset. I need to build a robust business behind the content as well. The content's good to kind of, as your top of funnel, the content's good to get eyes on you in this like attention economy, as Gary Vee would say. Yeah. It's like the best thing. It's like you can be the beacon of light. You can be the person who is gathering the attention. But really, like, what are you doing with these people when they all look at you? Is the message just, okay, that's a nice video, and next? Or are you finding a way to kind of capture their attention, bring them down into the funnel, and eventually either sell them something or bring them into a community or whatever that may be, or sell them a PDF, whatever.
Yeah. To mobilize them though, are you putting CTAs in all your content? Or
no, honestly, maybe that's something that I should be a bit better at. I don't do many call to actions at all. I use something called, just to kind of go on this little tangent here before I go back, I use something called ManyChat. I don't know if you know it already. So it's kind of like, it's DM automation essentially. So I use that, and in a few videos, I'll say like comment date if you want to join our speed dating, or comment newsletter, or you know what I mean, comment whatever. I've done that quite a few times. When I did the skateboard through Spain, I did the same thing. Like I think I said comment help if you want to host me somewhere or whatever. So there's been certain occasions when I would, but really no, I don't, and maybe I could be a little bit better at that. But anyway, to kind of close the loop on the question that you asked originally, where did it come from? So running parallel to these meetups that I was doing, I had this mindset of I want to start selling something. So what do you sell when you don't know what to sell? Like fucking t-shirts, you know what I mean? Like a t-shirt brand has got to be the most done and failed business in the world.
Merch, baby.
Yeah, merch, exactly. So super simple. But I thought if we're going to do t-shirts, I had someone helping me at the time as well. I thought if we're going to do t-shirts, let's do high quality t-shirts. So it wasn't just kind of print on demand stuff. So they took quite a long time to develop the kind of the sample life. Like I don't even know the terminology because I'm not the person that actually made the t-shirts. I had someone I was working with, but like you go through rounds of sampling. You get you look at the embroidery, you look at the screen printing. We had digital prints on one of the t-shirts as well. We did 6 different t-shirts. Or 3 different types of t-shirt, but 6 different varieties in terms of colors and stuff like this. And so every single time you get in the back from the factory and like, fuck's sake, this isn't working, or this doesn't look good, or we don't like this, or the logo's in the wrong place, and it just takes longer and longer and longer. And so while the t-shirts were developing, and while I was talking about the progress, because every week I used to post something and give people updates on like what's going on with the t-shirts, what's going on with XYZ, and the projects that I'm currently working on. And by this time, I'd already given the brand a name. I'd given Guiris de Mierda a name, even though we didn't have a product. I was kind of like showing like the process of me building it. And while I was doing this, the meetups were kind of going on. So we had that first meetup, like I said, and I did it for the content purposes. But then when I made the video about it afterwards, people were like, when's the next one? When's the next one? When's the next one? I was like, interesting. So let's do another one. So we did another one, and the exact same thing happened again. Like one of the videos blew up, and it was like, how do we sign up for this? So that's when I made a newsletter, and I was like, okay,
Nice.
I captured all the emails of all the people that wanted to come. It was just like a link in bio sort of thing. I started capturing emails. So then over the following 6 months, we did about 5 or 6 more events. And when I say events, it was like really not planned out at all. It was like stories, or I'd say initially it was just in my stories, like saying, hey, let's meet at this location, this bar. I wouldn't even speak to the bar before. Maybe I'd book a table. Like, you know what I mean? It would just be whoever shows up, shows up. And pretty quickly it got out of control. So it was like, it got to the point where when we still weren't charging, I'd put a story up saying the next event's here, boom. And in like 3 minutes, it was completely booked. Like 100 places was completely booked, but it was free. And so eventually we ended up charging, and that's like a different story. I won't go all down there. But yeah, that's kind of how it came together. And the whole time, people were I wasn't even considering keeping the clothing and the events as a part of the same thing. I was thinking keep them separate because they're separate things. Don't ask me why. I just didn't see them working together, and people kept referring to the events as Guiri de Mierda events because I was talking about the clothing so much, but the clothing didn't exist. And I was like, well, you can either fight the momentum or you can go with it. So I thought, fuck it, we'll use the events to promote the clothes. So my plan was originally to always bring loads of clothes to the events and try and sell the clothes and stuff. But then I actually realized the events is the business. People want the connection. They don't want the fucking clothes.
That's so good.
Yeah.
So they basically helped you brand yourself for you. They're like, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And
I just went with the wave.
Yeah. And when I've heard you like present the name Guiris de Mierda to people who haven't heard of it yet, they love it. It's such a good brandy name. It's
polarizing. Some people love it. Most people, I think, love it. But some people have told me, I like the community, but I don't like them. I've got DMs and stuff that say, I like the community, but I just don't necessarily love the name. I'm like, if you don't love the name, then you're not meant for the community. You know what I mean? Yeah. You have to be able to laugh at yourself. Like, I'm not taking it serious. Yeah. Like, some people say, it's muy feo. And I understand, like, you wouldn't, maybe not everybody wants a t-shirt that says Guiri de Mierda on the back. But like, that's the whole, one of the whole ideas of what we do is like being able to take the piss out of yourself. 100%. So if you're a Guiri and you can't call yourself a Guiri de Mierda, then you're probably not going to fit into the community very much, because the whole point is just to not take everything so seriously.
100%. Yeah. A very, very healthy outlook on how to do that. Would you say that moment where you started like filling up these venues, like that was a moment where you're like, this is a business, or was there a moment before or after? So the point where I thought that the events could be the business was, so we rewind back about a year, and I kind of thought, I was doing a lot of contracting work at the time, and the people that got back to me, the people that I was doing contracting for, they say, Tom, we've got no work left for you. We've taken you down from 5 days a week down to like a 1 morning a week. And I was like, fuck. And I'm not journaling so much at the moment, but I remember I was journaling a lot at the time, every day almost. And I remember flicking back to that page recently, and it said something along the lines of, just got fired. Even though on social media I said that I quit, but I actually got fired. You have to spin it. You can't look desperate. 100%, 100%.
So I said, I wrote something like, just got fired, just lost like all my hours or whatever. I was like, it's time to make these fucking events work. And that's what I said, like, time to make these fucking events work or something. And that was December. And then from January onwards, we were doing events. We started kind of getting the ball rolling by like formalizing it and treating it more like a business. Going to places saying that like, look, we want the whole place exclusively for us. This is what we're going to do. We could pay you X amount per person. And that's when I started to see, okay, is this a business? And for a while at the start, I wasn't even sure if it was a business still, because the margins, it took me it's like anything. It takes you a while to figure out, okay, how can we figure out, how can we make this profitable? You know what I mean? Like, if we're charging our customers this, then we need to not be paying more than this. But really, you don't want to overcharge people as well. Like, if we're just gathering in a bar, I don't want to charge people too much for that, because I'm trying to build a community. I'm not trying to rip people off. You know what I mean? I'm trying to build a community of people that I actually like, and I'm trying to provide something that people enjoy. I'm not trying to rip people off. So it's about finding that moment right. And the moment when I realized that we had to start charging for tickets, for example, was when we were still doing everything for free. We had this event that I said that like in a few minutes it was completely sold out, like booked out, to the point where I was telling people, sorry, you can't come. I was getting DMs. I was like, sorry, you can't come. It's like 100 people are coming. It's already booked. And on the day, like 50 people showed up. And like, that's bad for me, because it's like I'm putting on a worse event. If 100 people have said they're going to show up, it's worse for the people there because it's like a half full event, and it's worse for the bar. You know what I mean? Like, because they are expecting 100 people, and like it's half capacity. and now they're pissed off at me. So it's bad for my reputation. It's bad for everybody. It's lose, lose, lose. So that's when we started to charge. And then when I started to charge, I thought, holy shit, this is actually, we can actually do way more now. We can have photographers at every event. Yeah. We can go to rooftops on Gran Via. We can book out like cool experiences and cool places. You know what I mean? Then I realized this is the way to do it. Actually, you can provide a much better service. People don't mind paying for something if you're giving them the value for it.
Of course,
you know what I mean? If it's worth it, then they'll pay for it. And I think that shows now, like all of our events. I mean, not every single event sells out 100%, but most of them do, to be honest, which is pretty crazy. Like every event in summer, we were doing some. We've slowed down the schedule a little bit now, but in summer we were doing like some weeks 5 events in some weeks, which is crazy. Fair enough, some of them were run clubs and stuff, but everything sold out. It's crazy.
Well, there's a huge enthusiasm, and you've capitalized on your most engaged members, and I think what you did with them was brilliant with the Golden Guiris. Mm-hmm. So it's a subscription model. Monthly recurring revenue is really good, right? Yeah. So how long did it take for you to realize, hey, I could do this?
I don't know when I first launched the Golden Guiri subscription, but I remember I was walking in Casa de Campo. I was running or whatever. I was working out in Casa de Campo, and I was listening to a podcast. I was listening to My First Million, which I've told you about a couple of times before as well. I love the podcast. And whenever I'm listening to that and I'm just walking or running, I'm always just, I feel like it pumps me full of ideas, even if it's not explicitly related to what the guys are talking about on that podcast. I just feel like getting outside, working out while listening to something that's business themed, it always gives me lots of inspiration. And I can't remember what they were talking about exactly, but they mentioned something. I don't remember what it was exactly, but something clicked, and I was like, that was it. I was thinking, I wonder how I can, because my business is very locked, as in like an events business is very locked in the physical world in a lot of ways. That was it. And I was like, I wonder if there's an element of this business that I could bring online, because obviously if you bring a business online, and I'm not claiming to be some sort of like business genius or anything, but I'm just learning as I'm going, you know what I mean? But I knew it's obvious that if my revenue or my profits are locked to, if I can do an event with 200 people, like I can't invent another 100 people to fit in there. I've got 200 people, and this is kind of where I make this is where my profits come from. You know what I mean? Obviously, you can get sponsors and stuff like that as well, but still, it's kind of locked to this one event, one event. And I thought, if I can bring a part of the business and have a bit of like a hybrid of an online community and bring that into it too, it's much more scalable. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that also allows us to kind of branch out more into Barcelona and all this kind of stuff too. But that comes later. And so I thought, okay, maybe I can do something where it's like a subscription model, where I wanted to make sure that we were giving people value, obviously. So I was like, okay, initially when we launched the Golden Guiri, because all of our events were like selling out, like as soon as we post an event, it would sell out. As soon as the newsletter would be posted, it would sell out like that day. So initially, the only benefit for the Golden Guiris was 24. They get the email 24 hours before everybody else. Yeah. So they get the kind of the events email before. And that was the only benefit. And I remember making it. I made the product. I used ConvertKit. So I remember making the offering, the subscription. And before I even advertised it, I put it in my link. I put it in my link tree in my Instagram. Before I even advertised it, somebody bought a year-long Golden Guiri pass. Before I'd even mentioned it, somebody went into my link tree and bought the year-long, and I was like, "There's something here.
There's demand for sure." Yeah,
exactly. There's demand for sure. I was like, okay, interesting. This is really good. I haven't even advertised it yet, and somebody already bought the year-long without even knowing what it does, without speaking to me or anything. I was like, okay, this is interesting. And then from there, we just I kept adding extra benefits now, and like I think now. So we have, they still get that email early. The Golden Guiris still get the email early, but that's not the main selling point. Now they get crazy discounts on like literally every single event that's like a Guiri de Mierda event, because they get discounts on everything, and like good discounts as well. At Christmas party, it's like 50% off, you know what I mean, for Golden Guiris. They get free events. We do exclusive events just for Golden Guiris as well. Every month we have a Golden Guiri meal, which is kind of like the time left concept, where you go for a food with 8 strangers. So the Golden Guiris, whoever wants to participate, they sign up. We match them and send them all to a restaurant, basically. Yeah. And we do other stuff as well. So like the Golden Guiris get loads of stuff. They get preferential treatment. Yeah. They get like they get loads of stuff. They get good value for it.
It's totally worth it. I was Golden Guiri about a month ago. Yeah, it's been a month in it. Last night, for instance, there was an exclusive Golden Guiri event last night. Christmas market, really nice. Love it. And Yeah. Are there any communities you're involved with, like digitally or like in person, that you like gather some inspiration from? Or
Honestly, no, and this is something that I should do way more of, which is, yeah, I mean, I know that there's a lot of run clubs and stuff here in Madrid. There's a lot of community, I mean, I guess there's a lot of run clubs everywhere actually. And there's a lot of online communities, but I've never been a part of an online community, and I've never done any of these kind of, yeah, IRL kind of
yeah,
communities in my life. So it's kind of weird that I'm actually like,
yeah,
that is my business now to do one, because I just don't, I, it's probably a hole in my business really. I should spend more time looking at other communities to see what they do, see what works, all that sort of stuff. For me, I just kind of go innately. Kind of, this is where all of our events have came from in the past. What do I like to do?
yeah,
And just try to provide that as a service for other people. So like Save the Barrio is the perfect example of this. When I'm going out, I'm not really the type of guy that's going to be chilling on a rooftop. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I'll be on like a terraza in Lavapiés most of the time, or in a shitty little bar somewhere, like a shitty little Spanish bar with my friends, like all hunkered in there. And so that's kind of the idea of Save the Barrio. That's where that came from. It's like, I like to do this, so let's try and recreate this, but like in a positive way that we can kind of bring the Guiris to as well. And so that's a small example of how all of our events came to life. Speed dating was exactly the same. I did a speed dating event when I was, I don't know, in university, and I always thought, it's like a cool concept. I didn't invent anything with speed dating, but we kind of added our own twist to it. We have cards, and there's all different little funny rules and stuff to make sure people engage, and to make people feel comfortable. And it's the same thing with that. And then as soon as we've done speed dating, I've seen speed dating pop up all over Madrid now. I don't know if it was around before or if I'm just more aware to it, but
yeah.
I feel like we definitely pioneered the speed dating game.
Your speed dating is really fun. I just have to say.
I've never participated myself.
It's a little too fun. I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, it's fun from the outside looking in. It's
Yeah.
fun, but I'm happy to keep that distance for now.
But you said it best. Maybe not being involved is giving you an edge, because it's just natural to like copy models that exist before, but just going in for yourself, doing things that are interesting to you, makes you unique. You know, it's not, you can't be commoditized already.
Yeah.
And the best business school in the world is being in business.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you just figure things out as you
just
go.
figure it out along the way. And also like with the connecting the dots thing as well, it's exactly that. I didn't know that this positive flywheel would start. So for example, I started making content. I made one event, and the content from that event goes viral, which means more followers, more people on the newsletter, which means that I can make more, which means that I can do the next event, I can fill up the next one, which makes better content, and it just goes round and round and round and round. And it's like, it's crazy, you know what I mean? Like, obviously when I explain it now, it seems kind of self-explanatory and like easy. It's like, okay, yeah, making a video about the event and blah, blah, blah. But I don't know, looking forward, it's just not that clear. But now looking back, I'm like, okay, this is obviously the model.
Yeah. And actually that's funny, because I wanted to get into your content as well, because we were talking about content, and one of our first conversations was, all right, I don't really have a niche, Tom. Like, what do I do? I'm in this, I'm doing business, but I'm also building personal brand. I'm also trying to, I come from a corporate background, and I'm trying to help corporate people do what I did, which is negotiate remote work. I'm all over the place. Yeah. And then you said, just be your own niche, or something along those lines.
Yeah. It's from my first million again. This is a podcast that I just like watch. I'll watch and I'll rewatch episodes. You know what I mean? Because it's just so packed full of value. I think it's the best podcast out there for me, at least, because it adds a bit of humor in there too, and it's just like, it's perfect. It's not. I mean, I like Alex Hormozy as much as the next guy, but I can't watch Hormozy that long because he's just too intense. I'm like, okay, this is too much. I'm not a person of systems. I don't like systems and stuff. I like anecdotes. I like stories. You know what I mean? I like to be inspired. Yeah. And this is what these guys do. And so when you told me about, I think it was at one of our rooftop events, you were like, I'm not sure about the content or like what exactly my niche is. I quoted something that they say on their podcast, and it's like, what you should do for your content is just try and, what do they say exactly? It's like, just try and take the most authentic you and just be the most authentic you, and spit that out into video form. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just like, if, for example, I like jiu-jitsu, it's like, okay, I just need to do the things that I like and put them out there, and eventually, I don't know, you just kind of, for me, you just kind of find your way, and you just kind of find the niche. That's what makes you kind of unique as well. But with content, that's the beautiful thing about it. There's so many different ways of doing it. You know what I mean? I know what works for me, and this is what works for me. It's like being the most authentic me and trying to create a video that is just like being authentic to me and as authentic as possible. But some people can do it in completely different ways. You know what I mean? Like some people make millions on TikTok by making viral videos about products. You know what I mean? That's not being the most authentic then. That's the beautiful thing about content. Like I love storytelling. I love to sit down, write a script, or to have an idea and go from idea to, okay, how do we make this happen? What kind of video is this? What videos does this look like? And then I love the run and gun style of like, I don't really know what I'm going to film on the day exactly. I haven't got a shot list or anything, but I've got a loose idea of, who knows, like Guiri goes to there's like a big San Isidro, it's a festival. So I went to San Isidro in a full chulapa, which is the traditional Madrid outfit, but with socks and sandals on, you know what I mean? And it's like just kind of funny, you know what I mean? And we did an event there on the same day. So I've got this video that I'm trying to film. I'm dressed like a fucking chulapo. I went and bought flowers along the way to give flowers out to all the Guiris and stuff. And like the script just kind of came from, there. I had the initial idea and it just kind of comes out. So this is just what I like to do. And I guess this is why my content resonates a little bit with people.
Yeah.
And also just to cut you off, but to keep going. And it's the same thing when I did the skateboard journey across Spain as well. It's like, okay, how do I spit out the most authentic version of myself? Like, of course, I love the events that we do, but I'd be lying to you if I said hosting doesn't sometimes get tiring, because you're speaking to hundreds of people, you know what I mean? You're speaking to hundreds of people. A lot of them are strangers. It sometimes gets tiring. So what did I do? I was like, I need to do something that's authentic to me. What do I like? I like adventure. I like, fuck it. I'm taking the skateboard and I'm crossing Spain on the skateboard. And that, for me, when I go back and watch those videos now, so firstly, I should say, the videos did really well. It was the biggest period of growth of all of my content kind of time. I had, during that time, I had like, per month, I was getting like 8 million views a month, which is pretty crazy.
Nice. Which
is, for me, that's like way, way, way above what I usually get. And it's because I think it's translated in the content. You can see I'm like carefree. I'm like feeling adventurous. I'm doing the stuff that really resonates with me. And like, that's not for everybody. Some people would hate to do that. I'm sleeping outside in a hammock. I'm speaking to some old lady. I'm suffering. My shoes have got holes in them. I'm getting rained on. But like, that's the beauty of it for me. And I think people, even if they don't like that for themselves, they like when they see someone that's doing something that's authentic to them.
Yeah. They're living vicariously through you. They like see this is the real person living a real life. For sure, bro. You
got me hyped up now. Now I need to go and do another walk. Seriously, I'm thinking, fuck, what's the next trip? Because I came back to Madrid and I love Madrid. I love living in Madrid. But like, just do that. The spirit on that trip was just unparalleled. I love being out there in the adventuring, you know.
Before I met you, I saw one of your videos from there. You were chatting up the pueblo, like abuelas, bro.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Gotta be done.
Oh, really good. And piropeo aquí, un piropeo. Oh, dude, it's the best. So good.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like just having these conversations with people as well. It gives me energy, you know what I mean? Like speaking to people and having these like authentic conversations with people, it's great. And like to capture a bit of that and to kind of share that as well. Like people love that. So
yeah. So for you, for instance, like you built your personal brand and then you funneled those followers and that authority to the business brand later on. But would you use the same content strategy for, like, for instance, you're getting really into like street interviews, the voiceovers, because those are both pretty aligned with authenticity. Like you said, you're just talking. Right? There's no facelessness. There's no, it's really you. Is that strategy also work for like the business side, or how do you suggest?
So this is, I mean, just being completely transparent with you at the moment, I'm at a bit of a crossroads with my my personal brand and the Guiris brand, 100%, because I'm trying to figure out how do I tell stories that are authentic to me, and that aren't necessarily always about the events. You know what I mean? When the most interesting thing that I'm doing week to week is kind of like planning an event and doing it. So this is the strategy I'm going for, at least, and it could be wrong. I don't even know. I mean, I'm just trying. As I've done my whole social media career, I'm just trying new stuff and seeing what works. But what I'm thinking is this: I'm going to tell more personal stories on my personal brand. You know what I mean? So, like for example, I'm not going to talk about like the philosophy behind Save the Barrio. I'm not going to talk about like the format of the speed dating, which I used to do all this kind of stuff on my personal brand. I'm not going to do any of that anymore going forward. And I've started to just vlog the experience of being at one of our events, if that's what I'm doing on the day, you know what I mean? Or vlog the experience of me going to Barcelona and what am I doing in Barcelona. Of course, it's in the context of I'm building a business and this is what I'm doing, but I'm not including I'm not over explaining like, this is what we need to do in Barcelona. And if we need to make some partners and all, you know what I mean? I'm not doing that. I'm going to save that kind of stuff for the Guiris de Mierda content. So now, like you said before, we're getting more experimental with content. We're interviewing the Guiris at the events. You know what I mean? We're trying to like put more effort into the content on that side and keeping that way more Guiris specific.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, for example, that leaves room for me to explain like, what is our speed dating all about? Because we've had a few videos in the past. If you go on TikTok and search speed dating Madrid, our videos are the biggest videos that are on there, which is fun for me. And it's like, but those videos are from my personal brand, and they're talking about the exact format. And that's the kind of stuff I want to go away from my personal brand and go more into on the Guiris brand, because it fits way better, you know. And that will also allow me in the future. Who knows? Guiris is a business, right? So who knows? Maybe in 10 years, I want to sell Guiris. Maybe not. Maybe. You know, yeah. It's just one of those things. So it's important for me to. I know that Guiris is so intrinsically linked to me, as like most businesses are when you've got a creator founder. But it's important for me that Guiris can survive without me as well, of course,
yeah.
and can operate as a business without me. It shouldn't rely on me 100%. Yeah. And actually that shows, because I don't know if somebody was telling me the other day, actually, in speed dating, they were talking about me to a few different people, and the people were like, "Who's Tom?" So that's good for me. You know what I mean? I'm glad that people don't know me, because it means the brand can be bigger than me as well.
Yeah. I mean, they always say you want to build to exit, like even if you don't, but
yeah.
you want to have it prepared and like have systems of somewhat.
Yeah.
And even like, honestly, like my case, I joined and you weren't there. You were walking or skating down Spain. So Chris and Nat, they were organizing everything.
Yeah.
So it's a tight ship. It's good.
Yeah. Could always be tighter. And it's one of those things. Those girls are amazing. But yeah, it could always be tighter. Sometimes I feel like I'm just doing admin tasks all day, but we're just learning, you know what I mean? It's just, it's part of the learning experience, and things are getting better, and it's just that, it's that 1% thing, you know what I mean? Not to be too cheesy and quotey, but if you just improve it 1% every day, or just do your main priority thing every day that's going to move the needle, then that's all I can ask for. That's all I can do, and that compounds after a while.
100%. And also using the platform like Luma made things super easy for me and other people. I just send them the link and they can see everything. Yeah.
Luma changed my business 100%. Yeah. Shout out Luma.
What were you doing before Luma?
Using some shitty ass. Like, it was just ratchet, dude. I was using ConvertKit actually for a while, it's called Kit now. And that's still how I manage the Golden Guiri subscriptions. And it's still how we send the newsletters, but it's not an events platform. Mm-hmm. But I was making products with a finite number of like inventory. So if the event, for example, was 30 people, I was making a product on ConvertKit that people could buy 30 times, and each purchase was a ticket. But there was no way of checking people in, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then I moved to something like Event. It wasn't Eventbrite, it was Event something. It was shit as well, because like it was just shit as well. And then I ended up meeting somebody who works for Luma, who actually helped us her name's Fernanda, and she helped us do a couple of she helped us do our first event in Barcelona, actually. She was like, "Have you thought about doing Luma? Because we did this event together." She also runs a community in Barcelona called City Girls Barcelona. And she reached out to me like, "Hey, you should do something in Barcelona." I was like, "Okay, let's go." And she was like, "You should not use what you're using. You should use Luma." I was like, "Yeah, sure. You work for Luma. Of course you're going to say that." And then she's like, "Let's just try it with this one." I was like, "Okay, let's just try it." So, I mean, I'll try anything once, right? So I was like, "Okay, fine. It's in Barcelona, so it's not going to affect the normal like setup that we have over here." Yeah. People in Madrid aren't going to be confused about the new process. And I did it once. I was like, "This is the only way to do it now." Like, Luma is great. Fuck. Yeah.
So the discount codes, everything's in there.
Bro.
And
Luma, I want to invest in Luma, seriously. Like, Luma's like the part of my business that is irreplaceable right now.
It's so good. Like, even like small incentives too, like you can't see the full invite list of people who are going unless you buy. Yeah. And I'm like, "Oh, is she going to be there?"
Oh.
And then you go in. Yeah.
Oh, really? See, I don't know what it is. Actually, on the other side, I used to be a UX designer, but I haven't tested the UX of Luma so much. I just know from my side of things, it makes everything amazing. Yeah. It's so good for it sounds like a Luma ad right now. Luma should fucking sponsor my content, man.
Reach out to them.
Yeah. I need to. I mean, I have before, but they were very interested. But they should sponsor me, because I am doing all my events. I'm running like big business through Luma.
Yep. Yeah. I want to talk about Barcelona, and then but right now, as we're touching on it, sponsorships and partnerships. I know you had you spoke about a partnership you had with Jameson, for instance. Yeah. Like, that's a really good brand alignment, I see. But,
I agree.
How are you reaching out to venues, sponsors? Like, what does that look like?
This is the bane of my life at the moment. this is the vein of my life. So there are two different things. Venues and sponsors, I guess they're in the same category, but they're super different. If it's a sponsor, generally that's like a business that will have way more of an idea of social media and the importance of social media and that sort of stuff. So like Jameson, they were running ads in Madrid, and it was the same brand alignment thing. They're all about, they were trying to increase their presence in Madrid. They're all about kind of like, I don't know, they were reading out their brand guidelines to me and stuff, and I was like, this could be the Guiri de Mierda, like how we talk about our brand as well.
Yeah.
Especially for Jameson Spain, you know, because obviously a little bit different, I think, depending on the country. So how we met them, I mean, we haven't got a formalized process basically. This is something this is the next thing on the big to-do list of the long line of things to do. It's like sponsorships, because that's a really obvious way to make all of our events way more profitable if we can sponsor all the events. Not that comes also with problems as well. Some venues won't allow sponsorship. So some of the hotels we work with, if you have an event sponsor, they want a lot more money, like money that no one's going to pay. You know what I mean? Only like the big, massive brands would pay. So that's a problem for us. And really it's just kind of how it happens is kind of inbound. If people contact me, that sort of stuff, or if I see an ad on Instagram, if someone's running ads on Instagram, I'll shoot them a DM, but it's not very organized, to be honest. It's definitely a part of the business that needs to improve. And then that's the sponsorship stuff, and that goes with the personal brand and sponsoring events with Guiris. That's an area of my business that I know I'm leaving lots of money on the table, and I should be doing something about that. It's coming, don't worry. Yeah. And then on the other side, venues, the best way to get venues is also inbound as well, because if they've seen the Guiris events and they know what we're all about, they want to work with us. You know what I mean? If they like it, they want to work with us, and then everything's super simple, it's super streamlined. That's how we got all of our best venue partners. But otherwise, it's lots of word of mouth. It's lots of me putting up stories. It's lots of people. I found walking into bars is just not very good. I've walked around all day before walking into hotels, walking into bars. I never speak to the owner. I never get the guy that I need to speak to. It's just a massive waste of time. It just, it doesn't work so well for me. Usually it's me putting up stories. You know someone who knows someone. Hey, I know someone that owns this bar. We've got a crazy event space. It's not been confirmed yet. It's in Tetuan, and it's fucking sick. And I really, really, really want to get something massive planned there, like our biggest event ever. But it's not going to be big like a club. It's going to be big, like it's a beautiful space. And I'm thinking like we could mix our events there. We can do like a little mini Guiri fest, where it's like we have some Jenga stuff. We have some, I don't know, a content area. Who knows? We have live music. We have a DJ at the end of the night. We have food. You know what I mean? Like, just to bring it all together in like a really, really cool way. All the icebreakers that we usually do too, and have like a day thing. Maybe even there's yoga there. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, bro.
It could be really, really cool. So I'm thinking something like that could be quite cool. But yeah, it's all through Instagram. I do everything through Instagram. If there was a solution out there, I've thought about this as well. This is a good business. Maybe it's a shit business, I don't know, but this is a business that I need, and usually they say that these are the businesses that you should create.
Yeah.
If there was a business out there that could connect me to event spaces that isn't these kind of standard ones that exist currently. Like at the moment, you can log on to there's websites that are kind of like Airbnb, but for renting event spaces. But they're all just so expensive. They're ridiculous. With our events, I mean, we have different deals with different venues and stuff, but the prices that they're listed for on these websites is absolutely ridiculous, and I would never do it because it would just completely kill all my margins. But if there was a service that would connect me with venues at an actual decent cost, and like we could rent the venues at a decent price, then it would solve a lot of problems for me. But what currently exists, from what I've found at least, it's like every venue space, if you want to have 20 people there for 4 hours, it's going to cost me like €1,200. I'm like, how am I supposed to make money off that?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, it's also
never rant.
No, but that's a really good point. There's got to be an in between. I mean, that's what capitalism does. It finds like market holes and you like plug them in.
Yeah.
But there's got to be maybe a smaller venue, but you have to book out like 4 events at a time, like a block.
Yeah.
And save some money that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah. So, but going to Barcelona, have you noticed any difference with the venues in Barcelona versus Madrid? Like, how is the difference there?
So Barcelona, to me, I mean, I guess people could argue about the differences between Madrid and Barcelona all day. Barcelona is way more international, so I found that it's way more entrepreneurial. I went to Barcelona last week. I put up one story. The next day, I had 7 meetings. When I came back to Madrid as an experiment, I did the same thing. I put up a story. Like 3 people contacted me, and like nothing came of it so far. You know,
That's
So
curious.
it's like I love Madrid. I love like Madrid is my home.
Yeah.
But there is definitely a bit of a more old school mentality. A lot of the time, I feel like I'm really fighting an uphill battle to find good venues. And like we can if we can find the best venues, if we can find better venues, I know we can do the best events. You know what I mean? We've got the community to plug in and do awesome events. But like a lot of these bars and venues, they just don't want. It feels like they don't want the business. I don't know what it is. It feels like sometimes they don't want the business. But then that's why when you get good partners, and we've got good partners, you got to hold on to them. You know.
Yeah.
So we do repeat events, and we try and build those relationships with these partners.
Yep. Thinking of like little tangent like business ideas and incentives and projects. There's definitely a market for people because there's a lot of business owners I met in Guiris. You had a business networking. I couldn't go, but I met a lot of them, and I know a lot of people who pay like top dollar for like a branding workshop or something, like maybe like within Golden Guiris or something. But, because the way you've grown your brand is insane. Yeah, and it's also like I imagine you grew your personal brand to let's say 0 to 10K in like a few years. Okay. And you've grown the Guiris 0 to 10K in like months or less. Yeah. So like there's definitely some tips and values that a lot of people would value a lot. Yeah. I think that, so what we're going to do in the new year, and this is actually the reason why this event isn't currently live is because I can't find a fucking venue for it. I was speaking to a woman about her renting her space and she just, I don't know if she blocked me, she stopped responding to me. I've got no idea what's going on, pain in the ass. But anyway, I thought I found the perfect space for a content workshop. Yeah. I was going to start doing some content workshops. We did a content club once, a really small group. It was like 10 people, but it was really, really good. I told my story, but also like the content learnings from my story. I told my story, but through the frame of like, these were the content lessons that I learned out of it, you know, which was really, really good, really, really good. And then we had like Q&A and all that sort of stuff. So I want to do more content workshops for sure in the new year. The reason why that hasn't happened so far is because you're blocked, bro. Events, because I'm blocked. Exactly, because I'm blocked. Yeah. So I don't know. If there's stuff like that. There's lots of ideas and stuff like that we want to do as well. Yeah, I think for me, my passion is content. You know what I mean? Like that's what gets me excited for sure, and I can speak about it. I feel like I can speak about content for a long time. So when I meet somebody else that's like pumped about speaking about content, it's awesome. And so this is why I think this is a real natural event type for us to go forward with as well. Content creation club, something like that. Yep. There's a guy, Naval Ravikant. Are you familiar with him? Naval, yeah. He's big on Twitter, but I think I know him. He's huge. He's in the Silicon Valley investing space. Yeah. What is he? What did he do? So he was an angel investor for Uber, I believe, and like other big ones. Okay. And he's sharp. Yeah. But one of the things he says is like there's two really huge pieces of leverage that you can have, like different types of mediums that they're permissionless leverage, permissionless. Like you don't need to monitor it. You don't need anyone else. And it's content and code. Yeah, okay. Those are two things that are just evergreen. Like they just work for you in the background. Whereas a lot of different mediums, they require a lot of investment and stuff. But if you can just crank out content, the return on investment is insane. Yeah. I've thought this before. It's funny you say this. I was listening to My First Million again the other day. The last podcast they put out was literally about how to build leverage, and like this guy's talking about I can't remember what the guy's name was, but he was talking about his life lessons, and he said he used to trade like time for money, and he's like, okay, if I'm working minimum hour for the rest of my life, even if I save a little bit of money, I'm never going to be rich. You know, no chance. Yeah. So he's like, okay, I need to increase my leverage. So what are the ways I can do that? And he was talking about like knowledge was a good one, which this is obviously would be where like learning a skill like coding would come in. And he didn't actually speak about content, but I was thinking the whole time like content is a clear one because it's amazing. I mean, for me to make one video now, it's the same effort pretty much as it was for me to make one video 2 years ago. But now I can get paid like significantly more. And then in 3 years, I guess I'm going to be getting paid way more, you know what I mean? Yeah. For the same amount of work. So that leverage is super powerful. It's amazing. Yeah. Well, this is the part of the show where we're going to take in some questions from the audience. Okay, damn. Oh, shit. Okay. I like this. So I forgot about this. I got a question from Jack Ream. He asks, what's your vision for Guiris de Mierda over the next 5 years? Vision for Guiris over the next 5 years? Look, I am not someone that thinks 5 years out. Me neither. I don't know if that's for better or for worse, but it's just how I operate. Is I just focus on what I need to do next a lot of the time. But obviously, there's a part of me that envisions
a bigger version of Guiris. I love what Nude Project have done, for example. They've done it for clothes. I would love to run a similar kind of ship as it's really a content-led business. You know what I mean? I would love to run Guiris like that, like an international content-led kind of business where we can we can tour different cities. Yeah. We can open up Guiris in different places, and it's all just like everything's on YouTube. You see the whole journey on YouTube, and yeah, it's kind of like, and kind of like what I'm building now. Like there are people in the community that become characters in the content as well. Like so Johnny, for example, is our photographer. People, if they follow Guiris de Mierda or they follow me, a lot of them will know Johnny from my stories and stuff because I mention him all the time. Similarly, a lot of them will know Chris or Nat as well now because I'm going to be including them more in the content, and I want to build this like ecosystem around Guiris where you feel like you know the team. Yeah,
the recurring characters.
Exactly.
Love it.
Yeah.
Got a question from Anton.
Yeah.
Our boy. He said, community-based businesses often walk a fine line between passion and profitability. How do you ensure that Guiris de Mierda is both financially sustainable and impactful?
Yeah, I've thought about this as well. And it's true that what I've experienced in general is that people like small events. People like small events where they can be either one-to-one with the event host, or like not one-to-one, but they can get some one-to-one time with the event host, or they just get more time between themselves to kind of have more impactful conversations and that sort of stuff. However, small events don't pay the bills. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Small events aren't profitable, and that's just the way that it works, because it's a game of scale a lot of the time. But that's kind of where our superpower is in Guiris, I think, at least. It's because we offer a bit of everything. We have the smaller events if you want the smaller connections. We have the Golden Guiris, which is a smaller group, and we do those Golden Guiri meals and stuff. And we're going to be doing more family meal style stuff in the new year too. But we also have the bigger stuff as well, and we also have everything in between. You know what I mean? I feel like there is something for kind of everybody. I mean, there's not something for everybody. It's not true, because that would be ridiculous. But whether you're looking for, if you're looking for human connection, you can find it at our events, whether that be on a smaller scale around a table, having food with like 7 people you never met before, or if you want to come to a rooftop party, let your hair down, have a couple of beers, have a couple of cigs, do some fun icebreakers, and have some fun, and maybe, who knows, maybe get lucky at the end of the night. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. It's like, that's the beauty of it. There's variety, and all within the bubble of like what we really focus on is like the human connection side of things, because that's what's really important. So even in our big events, when I say big, I mean like in between over 100 people. Like even in those events, there's still a family kind of vibe there. Like there's still, because we have so many recurring people that come to a lot of our events, it still feels like I see people, I'm like, I'm giving people hugs, like, you know what I mean? Even if I haven't seen them for 6 months, for me, it still feels like a family vibe there. And I know it's because I'm the creator of it, so I know more people than a lot of people. But the feedback we get afterwards is like, wow, I came and I was a bit shy at the start, and you see it on their faces when people come in. They're like scared and they're shy. They come alone. Loads of people come alone to our events, but we tell them all the same thing. Like, look, people come alone, just get stuck in. We're going to do some icebreakers. We'll give a speech. The speech really unifies people as well. Yeah. And all these little touches that we have, I think really kind of build the community. And we did them all, not by accident, but just by kind of stumbling and learning the next thing, and then figuring out what works, what doesn't work. So I'm sure that through experimentation, we're going to keep finding ways to do that and get bigger. For sure. You guys cracked it. And the human connection is huge. Like whether you're looking for something romantic like ours or otherwise, like, there's always a connection there. Question from Robert. As a British expat entrepreneur in Spain as well, what have been the biggest challenges you faced when establishing and growing your business? Biggest challenges, I think he refers to like legal stuff. Yeah, hiring. Yeah, hiring has been awful because you can't just pay someone on a reoccurring basis that has a full-time job and that isn't a freelancer, that isn't registered as an autónomo. So, for example, like we've had people in the past that like they want to help us and I want to pay them, but like they can't really. We can't pay them on a reoccurring basis. You know what I mean? Because they'd have to declare it with tax, and the way that autonomo fees work, it's like you'd have to be getting paid at least a decent amount. If as an autonomo, as a freelancer, for people that don't know, you have to pay like $300 a month just to be registered as a freelancer. That doesn't matter if you don't make a single penny. You're paying $300 a month. So obviously, as someone that's trying to that would be wanting to help with Guiris and maybe do it as a bit of a side hustle, we'd have to guarantee them at least 300 just so they break even. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
So that's really tough because it's been really hard for me to scale beyond myself. You know what I mean? But now we're at a point where we've got people that we can pay, we can help and stuff. But it almost killed me. You know what I mean? Like before doing the walk of Spain, I felt like I was like doing all the events myself, hosting all the events myself. But then that's why it was good to do the Spain skateboard trip as well, the wrong way down.
Yeah.
Because it was a forcing factor, it was a forcing function, or whatever the phrase is. It forced me to step away from the business. It forced me to find people to step into my shoes, and it made everything better. I came back now, and now Chris hosts loads of our events. I'm there, like you came to the speed dating this week. I'm there. I'm relaxed. I'm doing content. I leave early if I want to leave early. You know what I mean? I'm like speaking to people, focusing on actually just talking instead of being like, we've got to do the speech. We've got to run over and do this. Speak to the bar. We need more drink tokens. All this kind of stuff. I'm just like chilled.
You cracked it.
Yeah.
You cracked it. You're locked in.
We're locked in. Baby. We're locked in.
Always locked in. All right. This one's really quick. This or that. All right. I'm going to give you two options. You pick which one you want. Really fast. All right?
Okay. This or that.
Sangria or Tinto Verano?
Tinto.
Madrid or Barcelona?
Madrid has to be.
Yeah.
I've been here for 8 years. It has to be Madrid.
100%. Tortilla con o sin cebolla?
Con.
Man, so
Gotta
far
be.
we're good. Águila o Mao?
Mao.
Right.
Siempre, tío.
Siempre bien. Omar aprobado.
Cameraman approved.
Real Madrid or Aston Villa?
Neither.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not a football guy. I don't give a fuck.
Oh, so you should go for Atletico Madrid then.
Atleti. That's what, yeah. Maybe Atleti.
All right, Chris or Nat? I'm
How could I make? With my two wives, how could I ever make such a decision?
Why choose? It was really fun is that you also listen to Future and Gunna and stuff. So like on the wavelengths, like why choose?
Exactly right.
That's funny. Well, Tom, this has been absolutely very, very insightful as a business owner.
Nice, love it.
I know it's going to provide a lot of value for a lot of people who are interested in Spain, interested in business in Spain.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're in Madrid or Barcelona, you're expanding. Guiris de Mierda is the best community, super, super locked in and amazing. Good connection.
We're locked in with Guiris.
That's right, locked in,
brother.
Nice. Gracias, tío.